People say fences make good neighbors. But when an HOA Karen kept barreling through my ranch gate like she owned the land, I decided to prove them right the hard way. It began on an ordinary morning, the kind where the dew still clings to the grass and the horses are barely stirring in the pasture. A faint squeak of gravel broke the calm, sharp enough to catch my ear. At first I brushed it off as wind or maybe a stray deer brushing the fence line. But when I glanced out the window, I froze. A white SUV was nosing past my gate, sliding onto the private lane that cuts across my ranch as though it were a public highway. The vehicle didn't slow, didn't hesitate. It rolled forward with the arrogance of someone who believed the world bent to their will. I waited for the driver to stop, maybe roll down the window and ask for directions. Folks get turned around out here all the time, and I don't mind pointing them back to the main road. But instead of stopping, the SUV pressed on, tires crunching deeper into my gravel, cutting straight toward my pasture like it belonged here. That was the moment I realized this wasn't an accident. This was deliberate, and it was just the beginning of a battle I never asked for, but one I wasn't about to lose. The woman behind the wheel, later I'd know her as Karen, didn't even glance toward the house. She drove with one hand on the wheel, the other clutching a phone to her ear, completely oblivious to the fact she had just crossed onto private property. My horses, Juniper and Scout, lifted their heads, ears flicking nervously at the rumble of her engine. She didn't care. She plowed forward, dust trailing behind her like it was her God-given right. I threw on my boots and stepped outside, waving an arm. "Hey, you're on private land," I shouted. She didn't stop, didn't even look my way. The SUV rolled through and out the other side, exiting at the far end of my property where the lane rejoined the road. By the time I walked back inside, my blood was boiling. Who just drives through someone else's gate like that? No knock, no explanation, no respect. Around here, land is sacred. Property lines aren't suggestions. They're the bones of trust between neighbors. And this woman had just stomped all over mine. The next morning it happened again. Same white SUV, same phone in her hand, same utter disregard. That evening I checked the deed, the plat maps, everything. No easements. No shared access. The lane was mine, cut from my grandfather's original boundary lines. I owned every inch of gravel she'd driven across. There was no question. She was trespassing. I mentioned it to Miguel, my longtime ranch hand and friend. He leaned on the fence post, chewing on a blade of grass, listening quietly. When I finished, he spat into the dirt. "City folks think lines on a map don't matter," he said. "But they do. You should set her straight before she makes it a habit." I thought about it all night. Sure enough, by dawn there she was again, barreling right through the gate, dust swirling behind her like a storm. That's when I knew this wasn't just some misunderstanding. This was entitlement, plain and simple. She believed my land was her shortcut. So I tried the polite route first. I flagged her down at the far exit, stepping in front of her SUV with my hand raised. She slammed the brakes, finally lowering the window. Up close, I saw the perfectly coiffed hair, the designer sunglasses, the expression that said she was used to being obeyed. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice dripping with the kind of condescension that turns blood cold. "Yes," I said evenly. "This is private property. You can't use this lane. You'll need to take the main road like everyone else." She scoffed. "Oh, don't be ridiculous. Everyone uses a shortcut. I've been driving this way for weeks. It's practically community access." "No," I replied, firm. "It's my access. My deed, my ranch. Not yours." Her lips tightened. She muttered something about neighbors needing to be reasonable, then rolled the window up and drove off. I stood there, dust in my teeth, fists clenched. Reasonable? She thought I was unreasonable for protecting my own land. That was the moment I knew talking wouldn't solve this. That night, Miguel and I sat on the porch planning. He suggested motion cameras. I thought about chain locks. Then the idea hit, why not both? A gate-reinforced, cameras mounted, sensors that would announce every trespass with cold, mechanical certainty. If she wanted to pretend this was her road, fine. We'd show her reality in high definition. Miguel grinned at the plan. "She'll never see it coming," he said, and so the trap was set in motion. Not a pitfall or a snare, but something far more effective. The truth captured from every angle. Because one thing was certain. Karen wasn't done crossing that line. And I wasn't done reminding her whose line it was. Miguel showed up at sunrise with coffee, tools, and a grin. "This is going to be fun," he said, rolling cables out like lasso ropes. Our plan had 3 layers: eyes, timestamps, and a message. Eyes meant cameras, not cheap motion detectors, but real surveillance. We hid one in a birdhouse, another tucked behind a hawthorn bush, and a third mounted in the iron scrollwork of the gate itself. They caught plates, faces, and the wide angle of the lane. Timestamps meant everything was synced to GPS time. Karen couldn't claim that wasn't me or wrong day. Each clip would be stamped down to the second, and the message? A calm, automated voice triggered by a sensor buried in the gravel. You are on private property. You are being recorded. Polite but unshakable, like the voice of the law itself. By noon, we tested it. Miguel drove his pickup through and the system came alive. The speaker announced him. Cameras clicked. Timestamps burned onto the feed. It worked flawlessly. I also kept a physical logbook and every date, every incident, every detail. It wasn't just about technology. It was about creating a paper trail no lawyer could laugh off. That evening, I sat on the porch with my laptop, watching the live feed. At 9:12 p.m., headlights flared. Karen's SUV slid through the gate like it owned the place. The sensor tripped. You are on private property. You are being recorded. She didn't even slow down, but the plate camera caught her numbers in crisp clarity. The wide angle grabbed the whole scene. Tires, ruts, the dust cloud trailing like a guilty flag. I saved the footage and emailed it to the HOA board and to Karen. No threats, no commentary. Just the clip. The next morning, the HOA scrambled. One member wrote back, "We need to discuss this at once." Karen replied with a long defensive email. I didn't know it was private. This is harassment. Delete those recordings immediately. But the videos kept stacking. Tuesday at 8:03, Friday at noon, Sunday evening. Each time the same SUV, the same trespass, the same message ignored. Miguel said it best. It's like watching someone write their own guilty diary. Within 2 weeks, I had enough footage to fill a courtroom projector. And word began to spread. Neighbors whispered about the talking gate. Some even came by to see it in action, chuckling when the voice spoke. A few who had used the shortcut turned around as soon as they heard it, but not Karen. She treated the voice like background noise, a buzzing fly she could outshout. She even posted on the HOA forum, calling me obsessed and territorial, spinning herself as the victim of my so-called paranoia. What she didn't know was that every lie she typed was being buried under an avalanche of evidence. The trap was set. All it had to do now was spring. It was a Thursday afternoon when the trap finally snapped shut. The light was golden, the kind that makes even dust look holy. I was on the porch, Miguel beside me with 2 beers. We had the live feed open on my laptop when Karen's SUV appeared. Same routine. Slow roll, no pause, straight through the gate. The sensor chirped. You are on private property. You are being recorded. For the first time, she hesitated. Her SUV idled a moment, then continued across my gravel like a queen waving off peasants. The camera zoomed in on her license plate. The wide shot caught her rolling across the alfalfa, leaving a scar of tire tracks behind. Miguel smirked. Got her again, but this time wasn't just another clip. A few curious neighbors had gathered near the lane, tipped off by whispers about the gate show. They watched as Karen parked by my shed and stepped out, acting casual as if trespassing on private land was the most normal thing in the world. Afternoon, she called as though we'd invited her. I didn't move. Miguel leaned on his truck, calm as ever. Ma'am, you're trespassing. You're on camera. Her smile cracked. Don't be ridiculous. This is community access. Not according to the deed, Miguel said. Want me to fetch it? Karen's face tightened. She accused us of harassment, claimed the cameras were illegal, and demanded we shut the system down. Miguel simply replayed the footage from the last week on the portable monitor he'd brought. Clip after clip, her SUV, her plate, her ignoring the warning. The neighbors murmured, eyes widening. Karen went pale. You can't show that. You'll ruin my reputation. I finally spoke. You ruined it yourself. All we did was hit record. She stormed off, SUV spitting gravel. Within hours, she fired off furious emails to the HOA, calling us bullies and demanding disciplinary action against me for stalking her. But the board had already seen the evidence. At the emergency meeting, Miguel and I handed over the full logbook and a neat USB drive labeled Trespass Recordings. Karen showed up with her lawyer, trying to spin the story into a tale of persecution. She claimed the lane was implied easement, that neighbors had always shared it, that we were targeting her unfairly. The board let her talk, then quietly played the clips on a projector. One after another. Different days. Different times. Always her SUV. Always the same trespass. The room was silent except for the hum of the projector. Even her lawyer shifted uncomfortably. The board chair cleared her throat. Mrs. Karen, this is undeniable. You ignored multiple notices. You've caused property damage. You are hereby ordered to cease immediately. You will also reimburse repair costs for the irrigation line and pasture damage. Further trespass will result in legal escalation. Karen tried to protest, but the decision was final. She stormed out, her lawyer trailing like a shadow. The next day, the footage leaked. A neighbor uploaded a short clip to the community forum with the caption, "When you think the world is your driveway," it spread like wildfire. Soon Karen wasn't just the lady in the white SUV. She was the local symbol of entitlement. For once, the gate didn't just clunk shut. It clunked with justice. After the board's ruling, life at the ranch started to feel normal again. The gate clunked shut each evening. The horses grazed without being spooked by surprise SUVs. And my pasture finally had a chance to heal. But Karen wasn't done, not yet. She tried one more time to flip the narrative. Long posts on the HOA forum appeared with titles like, "When Neighbors Weaponize Surveillance" and "The Dangers of Over-Policing Private Space." She painted herself as a victim, claiming she'd been humiliated publicly and that I had destroyed the spirit of community. But screenshots of the footage circulated alongside her posts, turning her words into punchlines. People didn't rally behind her. They distanced themselves. The very neighbors who used to nod politely at her now avoided her at meetings, giving her the cold, cautious respect reserved for someone who'd been caught red-handed. Her lawyer sent one last letter threatening to sue me for invasion of privacy. Miguel and I just laughed. She trespasses on your land and then claims her privacy was violated, he said. We forwarded the letter to the HOA's council. Nothing came of it. A month later, the board officially censured her, a rare move. It meant she lost her seat on 2 committees she'd chaired and was barred from running for leadership for 3 years. In HOA terms, that was exile. Meanwhile, the cameras stayed up, not out of spite but as silent guardians. Anyone tempted to test the gate now thought twice. The recorded voice on calm, unshakable had become legendary. Even kids on bikes would hear it and giggle, turning back before entering. The best part? Karen finally stopped. No more SUV barreling across my gravel. No more spooked horses. The shortcut was dead. Weeks passed. Juniper foaled a colt. The grass thickened and the ranch returned to being the quiet refuge it had always been. One evening, while watering the greenhouse, I found a plain white envelope tucked under the watering can. Inside was a single line in tidy handwriting. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. No signature, but I didn't need one. I tucked the card beneath a jar of nails in my workshop. I never spoke of it. Never showed it to anyone. It wasn't about victory, it was about closure. Karen had finally realized that entitlement has limits, and when faced with the truth, even the loudest person has to yield. Miguel raised a beer to me one night on the porch. You didn't just build a trap, he said. You built a mirror. She couldn't stand what she saw in it, and that's exactly it. The trap wasn't designed to hurt. It was designed to show. Show her, show the board, show the community. Now every time I hear the gate's heavy clunk at dusk, I smile. It means the ranch is mine again, secure, respected, and quiet. The world beyond the gate can run on shortcuts and politics, but inside, order holds. The lesson stays with me. Boundaries are not suggestions. They're lines that define who we are and what we'll protect. And sometimes the best justice isn't loud or violent. It's a simple voice saying, "You are being recorded."